What's up, everybody? Mr. Baumgarten here. We are carrying on making our platformer game. And we can see I've got my little alien standing over a picture that inspired by the city of Hong Kong. I don't recognize those buildings though. But yeah, we've got a whole bunch of tall buildings with some mountains in the background, I guess, and a nice harbour in front. So let's get on with it, shall we? Today, or this video, we're going to load our levels into this scene. So let's get my VS Code. Here's where we left it off last time. Now, what am I going to use to create the walls and the floor in my game? I think the box is what I used in the demo that I made up. Box explosive. Ooh. Is the box the one that I want? What else could I use? A wall of gems. A wall of mushroom brown. Oh no, there they are. Something to jump on. We don't want that. And then I've got the player. Spikes. Well, we'll be using that later on. Alright, so it looks like I'm going to be using the box. Box coin alt. Box explosive box item alt. Yeah, let's just use the box. Okay. So I'm going to right click on that, copy the relative path, and come to my JavaScript. And I guess I should probably just call it box. So box, oops, is equal to load image, quotes, paste that, change the slash, semicolon, and I'm going to let box be a thing that exists. Right, now I need to load my map from my levels file. All right, so let's just close that. This thing here that we created and went to all that effort to draw. Now we get to use it. I was just going to say, we're not going to make any more changes to the CSS or the HTML, so I can close them. Except every time you come back to this from a previous day, you need to remember you're going to have to open this HTML file to go open with Live Server. You can't open Live Server when you right-click on the JavaScript. You have to be in the HTML file for that. Anyway, so I've got my levels file. Let's load that as well. So I've got load image, and then the level is equal to load strings. All right, that's the command that I want here. And yeah, so inside the quotes, assets slash, and then the name of the file, levels.txt. I can also do the right click to copy the relative path, but it's also just easier to type it half the time. Make sure that the file name is a match. So levels.txt, levels.txt, uppercase, lowercase matters, and we will let level be a thing that exists. We're going to make a little change to our file. So this will load it in as a string, but I want it to be what's known as an array. I'm trying to decide how much technical complexity I want to get into with you here. But we're going to, this is going to be our first loop as well. Is this really what I want to do? Because it's a fairly abstract concept to be doing for our first loop. Let's see. Do I really need it? Okay, look, bear with me on these 3 lines. I'm going to explain loops later on. Let I equal 0, I less than level dot length, I plus plus, level I is equal to level I dot split empty string. Okay. A quick little explanation. I don't want to get bogged down on this too much because I'm going to explain for loops. at the moment, without doing this line, our level file is an array of strings where every string is one line. And then what I'm wanting to do is replace each line with an array of every character. So that's what the code is doing. Don't worry too much about the how and the why yet, because right now we're about to do some more for loops. So let me get this coded, and then I'll explain the loop idea. So let's draw that, shall we? Okay, how large do I want the box to be, actually? So that's going to need to be let's resize the box as well. I'm going to make my box 24 by 24 pixels. Okay. I suggest you do the same. Okay, now let's draw them on the screen. So I'm just searching through my instructions. Okay. So what we want to do is I'm also going to move this drawing of the player code down. All right, because what I'm going to organize this draw function into kind of logical sequence of things that I want to do. We want to draw the background. Then we're going to draw the levels. And then we're going to respond to the user, i.e. keyboard mouse interaction, and then we will draw the player. All right, and that's the sequence of things that we want to happen 15 times a second. All right, we're going to draw the background, then we're going to draw the levels, deal with whatever happens with the keyboard and mouse, and then draw the player, and keep on going again and again and again. Okay, so drawing the levels. Okay, so we want to remember we've drawn this up into rows and columns. And so I want to iterate over every row. So for every row from 0, so being the topmost row, to the bottom row. Now, how many rows can I fit in a screen? If my box is 24 by 24 pixels and my screen is whatever this number is, right, then the number of rows that I can fit in the screen is going to be that divided by that. So what I might actually just do is I might create a variable that keeps track of that for me. And so let's call this blocks per screen height. Right, and so that's going to be my window height divided by 24. And while I'm at it, I'm going to make a blocks per screen width, and I'll make that my window width divided by 24. And by creating this as a variable here, so let's also just quickly make the placeholders up the top so that they become globals. The reason I'm doing this as a variable is so that if I decide to use different sizes instead of the 24, I only need to update them in one place of code. If I embed them into all my calculations further on, then I'm going to have to remember all the different places where I use 24 and the significance of each one. And so that kind of introduces bugs. But by saving it as a variable, I've got it there as a single value that I can just look up and refer to. So I'm going to go from row 0, and while my row number is less than this number, right? The number of blocks per screen on the height. So while my row is less than the number of blocks per screen height, and then every time I run through the loop, I'm going to increase my row by 1. So plus plus just means increase by 1. So there are 3 things that are happening here inside this piece of code for the for loop. I am creating a variable called row, and I am setting it to a starting value of 0. Right? You can see here that this piece of code that I've got highlighted is exactly the same as all, of this style of construct here. I'm creating a variable. Let this thing called row exist. Give it a starting value of 0. Then my semicolon, and then the next block up to the next semicolon is the equivalent to what's inside the if statement. Right? I'm asking a question. Here is a test, and I want my loop to run while this is true. So while whatever number is inside row is less than whatever number is inside blocks per screen height, then keep doing this loop. And then the third piece of code, the third section after the second semicolon, is just an instruction. It's a piece of code to run the increment. And in this case, I'm saying increase the row by 1 each time. I could actually just write in here, row equals row plus 1. Right? And that is the exact same thing. Take whatever value is inside row, add 1 to it, save it back to row. So I might even just leave that there. Okay, so I want to iterate over all the rows, and I want to also iterate over all my columns. So let's also do that. So let column equal 0 while column is less than the blocks per screen on the width. Then column is equal to column plus 1. So for every row, then let's look over every column, and then now I'm going to do something. That means for every row and column combination, I want to do something, and I want to see what is at my level for that row, for any individual row and column combination. And so I'm just going to be looking up the character that is at that location for that row number and that column number, and whatever's there will determine what I'm going to draw on the screen. So let's kind of just prove how this works. So if I do a console log, okay, and say row, okay, and then I'll print out what's in row, column, and then I'll print out what's in column. All right, then we're going to look up what's in the level at that row and column. So I'm going to, contains level, and I use the square brackets to get the different elements inside this levels file. So get this row, get this column. All right, and now this is going to print this 15 times a second. So it's gonna scroll by pretty fast, but it'll give you an idea of what's going on. If I inspect, I'll pull up the okay, so what have we got? Failed to load resource levels.txt. The server responded with an error of 404 not found. So I'm guessing I have a spelling error in my levels file, and that's what I get for typing it and not just right clicking on the file name. So I've got here assets/levels.txt. Levels. It's not inside assets. It's just inside my main thing. So let's get rid of the assets slash. That should be all that I need there. Save. Go back to the web browser. Okay, there it is. And you can see here that this is now running through all of my row and column combinations, printing out whatever character is at that row and column in my file. And it's trying to do it 15 times a second, but it can't cope. And so that's why you're kind of getting this. But I can scroll up through it and we can kind of look back over it and see what's going on. Okay, so that is working, and now I can use whatever character is there. If it's a dot, I'm not drawing anything. If it is a hashtag, then I'm drawing my box, and so on and so on. So let's make that side of things happen. All right, good to error check. So I'm going to comment out the console log. I'll just keep that code there. I can uncomment it if I need it for some error checking later on. Now, so let's look up what's at that row. So yeah, if the level row column is equal to, we use a triple equal sign to be checking if one variable is equal to a value or something else. If it's equal to the hashtag, all right, then I'm going to draw a box. What else? In fact, let's just copy and paste. Let's get this part working first. I'm going to draw an image, and the image is going to be the box. And it's going to be the column number times by 24 pixels per column, right? Every column represents 24 pixels because that's the size of the boxes and the size of the grid that I'm going to draw. And so this is why I had that pixels pixels per block. No, what did I do here? I didn't. Okay, so let's make it pixels per block. Okay, and so I'll just save that as 24 as well. So all of these 24s should probably be in a variable, but as long as they're up here. All right, so that anything that I have to change is all in one place. All right, if I do decide to resize my grid, then all the 24s are there. And then all of my other code will just automatically flow on and work. So I'll come back here, and I'm going to times that by 24. All right, so if it's column 0, then 0 times 24, it's going to draw it at pixel location 0. If it's a column 1, times that by 24, it's going to draw it at pixel location 24. All right, and then 48, and so on and so on. So that that's the X coordinate, and then it use the same process for the Y coordinate. So that's going to be the row number times by the pixels per block. So this is also assuming that my blocks are going to be squares. All right. So now if I save that and come back to my code, there you go. We can see here that I have some boxes drawing on my screen. I'm just going to reset. There we go. That little circle with the cross resets the console. We can close that for now, I guess. All right, and yeah, you can kind of see that there's more there. But we don't have the scrolling happening yet. So like if I walk off the side, then I just walk off the side. We don't have the game scrolling with us. We'll add that in a little while, probably the next video. But first, let's get the coins and everything else showing. So I'm just going to copy and paste these 3 lines of code and modify them for my other sprites. To whoops, So how many do I need? I need to draw. So I also need the box for the uppercase W. A coin was my lowercase o. And then spikes for the pipe symbol, which is that. I think that's all I need. Okay, so instead of the first two, I'm just going to use the box. But yeah, by making them different codes, it means you can, if you drew a different animation, a different image, a sprite that you wanted to use for the wall as opposed to the floor, you could. All right. So the coin, we need to have our coin variable. You can see it's a slightly different shade of blue. That's kind of indicating that, hey, maybe this thing doesn't exist. Yeah, spikes or lava or whatever you want. I might just call it ouch. And then you can decide what it's going to be. So let's make sure we load those in. So I need, what do I need? I need coin and I need ouch. So coin is going to be load image assets. What's it called? Let's check. I've got gold coins, silver coins, bronze coins. Let's go with silver. So coin, silver. Silver has a capital S. So PNG. And then for the ouch, load image. Oops. That's my spikes there. Yep, change the slash. All right, let's see what is. Okay, there's my silver coins. So my silver coins, I haven't resized those. So you can see that they're kind of overlapping each other. The silver's not really very visible. Let's switch to the gold. There you go. The gold stands out more. But yes, I need to resize them so that they fit the 24 by 24 box or grid pattern that we are using. So I'll also come down here and coin, resize that to 24, 24, and ouch, resize that to 24, 24. All right, there we go. That's a good size for my coins because I've got an empty. If I check my file, yeah, I've got an empty row between the coins and the floor, so that's why there's that big gap there. So if I wanted to move these coins, down to the level of the platform, then I do that. All right, and now I've got my wall here as well, and we can't. Oh yeah, we can see some spikes happening down here. They're not particularly visible, but they are loading. So we don't have, yeah, because we don't have the scrolling happening yet. So that gets us to having our different sprites loaded in. Obviously our player is not aware of the physics of the reality of walking on platforms and all that yet, and we don't have the scrolling window and all of that side of stuff, so we'll deal with some of that in the next video. So for this video, just make sure you've got all your sprites loading and you've got that the level being rendered correctly into the correct locations. So that's that double for loop happening on, so you've got this for loop happening here on your level, and you've got this double for loop happening inside your draw code. Okay, that's Mr. Baumgarten checking out of this video. See you at the next one.